Thanks very much for watching. Today was a very big announcement for One Nation. They announced that they're back in the Senate race, particularly in Queensland, where if their vote was repeated at the Queensland state election, at a federal election, they would be looking at least at one senator. Well, in my hope, it's fingers crossed it'll be two. Steve Dickson is the Queensland leader of One Nation. He's a man, of course, was their leader in Parliament, and now he's part of the big team in Canberra and wants to come back here as a senator whenever that federal election will be called. Hello, great man.
Hey, Paul, really good to see you. And, mate, happy to be in the big house, the big sandpit.
Now, and I've got to ask, what's with the pin? What's that for?
Well, you officially get these when you lose in the Queensland Parliament. I was there for 11 years, so I proudly wear the loser's pin. But
you've earned it.
It's a lovely mace, and it reminds me of... did a whole lot of work in the Queensland Parliament. I hope to get the opportunity to do it in the federal Parliament.
All right. Why do you want to be a senator versus what you're doing now, where you're able to advise Pauline, you're able to help the MP in Queensland? Why do you want to get back in the chamber?
Well, I'm either a lunatic or I love this country a lot, and I think it's the second one. I just think there's so much I can do, and when I got downstairs and I watched the way the Senate operates, you see, this is the place. You know, it seriously is. It has an upper house, so that's totally different from Queensland for a start. It's the only unicameral government in the country. So what we're going to do, we're going to be talking about economic policies, we're going to be talking about national security, we're going to be talking about tax reform, and I've got a plan I've actually got under here, and I won't be showing you a copy.
Okay, don't.
I'll allude to you what it's about, but we're going after the top 700 companies that are multinational companies that are actually not citizens in this country, and they don't pay a whole lot of tax. And what we can do is actually fill that black hole. Every year we are losing $20+ billion a year. That's what our two governments have got us to in this country, over a $500 billion debt. We're going to whittle that away.
Because this was the thing where One Nation has made the decision we're not going to back in the company tax cuts, the bigger business ones at the moment. Is the logic we won't? Big business doesn't deserve a tax cut until multinationals are pulled into line. What's the logic? Because people watching us now would assume that a centre-right party like One Nation would always want people to have their own money versus the government.
Paul, I come from private enterprise. I've owned plenty of businesses, and the reality is, tax cuts are really good, but you need to understand this. It's a 30% going down to 25%. That's going to actually affect your superannuation, because at the moment you get credits and they're at 30%. So it's going to drop them back to 25%. And in the long term, that perpetuates, and you are going to lose money on your superannuation. And there are other impacts as well. So the question I'll ask the government is where are their savings coming from that are going to allow them to do this? I've not seen the document yet. One Nation's asked for them, and we haven't got them. So we're waiting with bated breath. But we're actually talking about payroll tax as well. It's $23 billion a year income for all of the state governments. The money that we utilise by saving from these 730 plus companies that aren't paying very little tax in this country, we can use that to fund the state governments to drop payroll tax. In turn, that will employ people. I mean, there's just so much. I just see the state parliament, it's opportunity city. We got children in the sandpit at the moment. They're talking about themselves, and they're not looking after the interests of this country. Look over the last week, what's happened here? We're talking about one particular party, and we've got the Labor Party, they're sitting back having a bit of a giggle, and they forgot about the seat of Longman, where they got an illegal MP there who should be resigning tomorrow.
Correct. Well, this is the thing. I mean, literally, Susan Lamb, the story she gave Parliament was very emotionally compelling, but guess what? It's probably not the truth, because a stepmother comes out and says, well, hang on, this whole, your mum dropped you off and you never saw her again, you went back and lived with her again. So she's potentially misled the Parliament. The tears mean nothing. She's got to go to the High Court. But here's the thing. When Pauline was sitting in that chair last week, she said that the Libs most likely would get the preferences because she doesn't want to back in the Labor Party. That would be enough to tip the seat. Preferences, and you've lived this experience where the Liberal Party's brain just goes nuts, having to decide whether or not to do preference deals, discuss them with you or not. The experience of the Queensland election, how does it change your perspective about how One Nation should fight the federal election?
Paul, greatly, because I can tell you Longman for a start, and I'll back Pauline up 100%. We go to an election in Longman, Labor and the Greens, we're going to flip a coin to see who goes last. But I can tell you it's repetitive. It's first and second at the bottom. We will be putting the LNP up the front, and that's what we have to do. I mean, we need grown-ups in this, running this seat here in this Parliament, and if we don't get that, we're in deep trouble. Another thing that's happened recently, I've been fortunate to go over to Western Australia and talk with Twiggy Forest representatives over there about the gas on the West Australian shelf. They've got a project that they're planning to build a $2 billion pipeline across to Mooney, I think it is, and distribute gas right across the country. They can deliver gas to Queensland for $6 a megajoule. I mean, we're paying 12 to 14 now. Something's wrong in this country, and we need smart people in the room because we are going backwards. The children are playing downstairs in this house at the moment, and our economy is going to the shit house, I'm sorry to say.
No, it's true. And the truth is that, as you say, I mean, the national conversation has been about, you know, affairs and who knew what and when and all, and it's ridiculous. Why do you think you're a shot? Obviously, Malcolm Roberts is the lead Senate candidate. If the Senate vote was exactly the same as the number of people who voted for you at the Queensland election, bang, he's a senator for 6 years.
Absolutely.
Why do you think you're a good chance of joining him?
Well, I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to be diligent with the people of Queensland. I've built up a pretty good following throughout the state of Queensland. We need to get 2 lots of 14%, so that's 28%. I think we can manage 22, of which we gained at the last Queensland state election. We'll run in the 30 seats, and we're going to work hard and get that 6%. So I'm saying to the people of Australia, and particularly the people of Queensland, I want to work in the Queensland Parliament. I want the grown-ups in the building downstairs, and we have to fix the economy. It's in your hands.
All right, good on you, Steve. Lovely to see you again, man.
I'd love to see you too.
We'll talk any time. Looking forward to it. Steve Dickson, he is a One Nation Senate candidate in the upcoming federal election. Early next year, that's when it's official, but most likely towards the end of this year. Quick break, back with more. Plenty to talk about here on Paul Murray Live.